Leadership is often misunderstood. When people hear that someone has an impressive title or an assigned leadership position, they assume that individual to be a leader. Sometimes that's true, but titles don't have much value when it comes to leading. True leadership cannot be awarded, appointed, or assigned. It comes only from influence, and that cannot be mandated. It must be earned. The only thing a title can buy is a little time, either to increase your level of influence with others or to undermine it. That is a quote from top leadership guru John C. Maxwell from his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And that is the series we're in the middle of right now, or really, I guess, just starting. We're talking about leadership, another one of Brian's subjects that he loves very much, has a lot of experience in. Hello, Brian.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm really excited about leadership. I'd love to talk about it.
Absolutely. And we're going to basically get right in because today we're going to expand a little bit on what we talked about last time. So last time we focused a lot on the team. You went out of your way to say that a leader basically can't do anything without the team that surrounds them. Right. And it's really sort of the most important aspect of leadership. However, as Maxwell would say, as you would say, as any leader who knows anything would say, somebody has to lead the team.
Right.
So at some point, there is a person that's in charge. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the qualities of a leader, that just a few. Mm-hmm. And we're going to reference some of Maxwell's other stuff to do it. But Brian, why don't you get us started with some of this and tell us a little bit about these qualities.
Yeah, when you start leading, you don't usually get like appointed or titled as a leader because as Maxwell puts it, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. During this entire series about leadership, I probably will say that every single time.
Yeah.
Because people misunderstand what leadership is. And I've been in lots of settings where you go around the room and you say, hey, tell me what you think leadership means. And people try to do these backflips and make these complicated answers. But really, Maxwell, I think, gets this right. It's just influence. And if you think about it that way, everybody has some measure of influence, and that means that everybody is a leader at some level. And since that's the case, why not try to dissect it, understand it, so that we can get better at it?
Right.
So in that way, there are certain qualities or characteristics, if you will, that help a leader achieve the zenith of his or her potential. And those are the things that can be cultivated, but they're not really skills. They're more internal characteristics that we say, I've got to pay attention to this.
Okay.
And so there's a lot that's been written about this. And if I could just step back for just a second and say, I do get a little bit in my head. Maybe I feel really good about leadership. I feel usually good about my leadership, not always, but usually. But there is, if I'm being honest here, which will get a little bit to our first quality. Right. If I'm being honest, there's at least a little bit inside of me of imposter syndrome about this because I think to myself, well, good gosh, you could read. There are dozens of books from Maxwell to people like Andy Stanley or Groeschel, or we could go on and on. I've read all the presidential memoirs, whether you like their politics or not, presidents or leaders.
Right.
And so when you got access to all of that information, well, who the heck am I to talk about leadership with people? But at the same time, everyone has leadership at some level.
Right.
So, and I've learned a thing or two about this. So I wanted to be able to talk about, if I could narrow it down and say, what are the qualities what are the really big, most important qualities that are inherent for effective leadership? I think I would settle on these 4. Now, if you ask me next week, I might swap one out because it's hard to get them down to 4. But for the point of this particular episode, I thought, well, I want to talk about 4 of what I would consider the biggest, most important qualities of a leader.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do today.
All right. That sounds great. So you just brought 4, but to your point, there's leadership all over the place. This goes way outside of just the church or anything like that. And you can learn leadership capability or strategy from, I don't know, millions of people, I feel like, in history. Yeah. But some rise to the top, and it's likely because of the qualities you're going to share.
Yeah.
So
at least some of them.
Yeah. Why don't you springboard us off with the first one?
So, and some of this is also a product of your own wiring or your own experience. But I do think that this first quality would be confirmed by other greater, more significant leaders than me, and it is authenticity.
Mm.
Authenticity is the idea of being true to who you are. It's sort of the what you see is what you get kind of thing. Now more than ever, people can spot someone who is disingenuous or is trying to fake it.
Yes.
So here's an example of authenticity for me. This is a very deeply held core value for me. I guess I'm able to play the game, if you will, but I hate playing. I just want to be me, and I want to be sort of you can take it or leave it kind of guy.
Right.
And I think that if I could be so bold as to say this will maybe sound egotistical. I don't mean it to be, but I think the authenticity that I put on display endears some people to me. They appreciate that I hear this a lot from people at our church who say, it's somewhat surprised. They'll say something like, "You're just one of us."
Right.
And I think, well, who else would I be?
Right.
Of course, I'm just a normal guy. So here's an example of how for me this matters, or how it is played out. The Sunday before Easter at our church, I did something highly unusual. Highly unusual. I walked our church through the entire torture and crucifixion process of Jesus. And I sort of set this preface, and I said, normally we try to leave on a upbeat note and people feel good about coming to church and all that. And I said, today will not be that day.
Yeah.
And I walked us through the brutality of what Jesus did and envisioned Jesus' capability of a divine rescue at any moment, but him holding back all the forces of heaven and making it personal to me because he knew that if he didn't go through this process, I would not be rescued.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it was very personal for me. It was an exercise, a spiritual exercise that I've developed, and we should talk about that some other time. But the point is, as I did, on Sunday mornings, most people don't realize, we do a full tech run, what we call a tech run. You know this, Elijah, but I'm just trying to make sure our listener knows.
Bring them with us.
We do the entire service before the first service to make sure that we've got it right, because we feel like excellence is really important. We want to make sure that we don't create some kind of distraction. And that includes the message. I go through the entire message.
Yeah.
And that message was so potent. So I'm going through the tech run and I cry. It was really just, the emotion of it was just so heavy. And then I did the first service and I cry. And I said to someone, one of our colleagues, I said, here's my worry. My worry is that I won't be able to stay connected emotionally with this story.
Having
already done it twice
through
the third service, which is 2 more times. And I said these words, I said, because we don't fake cry around here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be authentic or it's not going to happen at all. And so that's, for me, an example of how we put authenticity on display. We don't fake it. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I think leaders who fake it put their own sort of soul in jeopardy because they're living a double life. They're lying, if you will.
Yeah.
And people around them kind of know it. They can kind of sniff that stuff out. And in addition to that, here, let's just be super practical. There's never a moment anywhere, just about, where there's not a microphone or a camera on you these days.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're living a double life, I have bad news for you. You're going to get caught.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get caught.
That's true.
And so authenticity, I think, is really important. People want to come along with a leader who's just real. And I think that this is key. This is a key quality of a leader.
Absolutely. It goes back a little bit how you started with the whole imposter syndrome thing. I think people get tempted to not be their authentic selves because they feel like they have to present a particular way in order for people to follow them, which, logically makes some sense.
Yeah.
But the problem becomes is people, as Maxwell would say, people aren't leading you for your title.
That's right.
Or they're not following you for your title.
They're not.
They're following you for you.
That's right.
And it really doesn't matter what your title is. That will come.
That's right.
If people decide they're following you, not the title.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny you should say that. One of his laws in Maxwell's book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, where you quoted, one of the laws is the law of E.F. Hutton, and we don't have time to go into it today, but the law, he's trying to illustrate this point. He says there's the guy in the room with the title, leader, which is senior pastor, president, whatever, chairman.
Yeah.
Then there's the guy or lady in the room who's the real leader.
Right.
They don't have the title, but they're really the one everybody's following.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you want to, and so sometimes they go together and sometimes they don't. But the point is, the title doesn't take you very far. I really don't care about titles.
Right.
You have to have them, But I'll give you one other quick example of how authenticity was played out for me when COVID happened. It was a terribly scary time, and I for everything, life itself and also organizationally, and I was on a Zoom call. I can't remember the exact platform, but it was public, and there were lots of people in this Zoom meeting, and I got emotional and shed a few tears, and I said, I feel like my life's work is falling apart in front of me. Because no one knew what was going to happen with the church, not just our church, and no one knew what was going to happen at all. It was scary, right? Yeah. But I said those words. I feel like my life work is falling apart in front of me. And after that meeting, I had a guy in our church, a leader in our church, call me and he said, "You can't say that." And I said, "Oh, yes, I can."
Yeah.
Because for me, authenticity matters that much. I'm going to say how I feel now. That doesn't mean that you just let it all hang out raw all the time.
Right.
You have to think through this.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be me, and I think a great leader has to be authentic.
Yeah, absolutely. Leaders can't just wear their emotions completely on their sleeve all the time.
No.
You talk about this when you do, speaking of COVID, your mom passed away.
That's right.
Sort of during that.
She died from COVID.
And you did her service.
That's right.
And you tell us all the time that when you're the pastor in the situation, particularly like a funeral, you can't fall apart.
That's right.
Because then the family feels like they need to take care of you.
That's
Even though
exactly
that might be the way you're authentically feeling, I'm sure it was.
Yes.
When you were doing her service.
That's right.
But you knew that you couldn't do that because then you're placing not only the burden of their grief already,
yes,
but then trying to care for you.
Yes. And I think that is still authentic. So we can compartmentalize certain things for certain moments.
Right.
So what you're talking about just to catch everybody up, I think this is really important. I have buried people as a pastor who were very close friends.
Yeah.
And it was emotionally gut-wrenching. I wanted to sit in the seat and grieve with everyone else as they were grieving.
Right.
But they asked me this, they gave me this sacred request of being the officiant that helped the family say goodbye. So yes, I was a friend, and yes, I loved this person, and yes, I was grieving, but I had to wear a different hat. And so I learned how to not bottle all the emotion up. As I tell our pastors, you're one of them, as I say, you can cry at a funeral. You just can't fall apart.
Yeah.
Because like you said, if you do that, then the family has to take care of you, not the other way around. So what I'll do is I'll do the funeral, and I'll be completely authentic, and I might shed a tear or two, but I'm going to hold it back, mostly. And then when the funeral's over, I just let that curtain fall, and I let the switch go and the floodgates open, and I'll sob and do all the things. But until then, I've been asked to do something very sacred. And so I think it's still authentic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're still caring for people. You still got to do what you got to do.
That's right.
So we have authenticity.
Yep.
And we have three more we want to get to.
Yep.
So authenticity 2.
The second one is perseverance. So anybody can lead something amazing when everything is moving up and to the right.
Yeah. Yep.
And I've watched people do this where they start something, they've got a good idea, they've got some organizational sense, and they've been able to gather some people around them. And it all looks amazing until they run into a bad spot. And then they just jump ship.
Yep.
And it leaves all kinds of damage in its way. Great leaders have to develop the quality of perseverance. So I go to the gym 5 days a week, and I work out. I do some free weight stuff. And I often say, lately I've been thinking a lot about this, that the way that you build strength is you put a little more weight on than you can handle.
Yeah. Yep.
The way you get hurt is you put a lot more
Wow.
weight on than you can handle.
Yeah.
So there's always, a little bit of a balancing act. But the point is this: you get weaker when you don't put any weight on it. And so great leaders understand that when you feel like this is a heavy season, you don't dump the weight.
Right.
You push through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you get stronger. That's how the organization gets stronger. It's how the team gets stronger. If you're in business, it's how the product gets stronger. I mean, everything gets better when leaders learn how to persevere through difficult times. And everyone goes through difficult times, and every organization goes through difficult times. I think about Steve Jobs. They fired him from his own company.
Mm-hmm.
And he spent years in the wilderness trying to figure out, how do I rebuild? And he comes back, and Apple becomes, at least for a season, the richest company in the world, and is still one of the most revered companies in the world.
Yeah.
And that emerged primarily because Steve Jobs understood perseverance. You have to persevere. You can't give up. You can't give up. Winston Churchill's famous speech about "We will never give up. We will never give up."
Yeah.
And he was. I mean, they should have lost. They should have succumbed to Hitler's machine, but it was his perseverance. And so I think leaders have to learn to do this. Our church is only in existence today because me and other leaders decided we were going to will our way through these extremely challenging seasons, and we have been through them. And I am sorry to say we will go through them again.
Yeah.
But you don't achieve anything of real value. You don't achieve anything great if you don't have perseverance. Leaders must develop this. And Elijah, this can apply to every area of your life. We did a whole series on marriage. I could say this about marriage, man. If you've been married long enough, which is not all that long at all, you're going to go through a hard season. And it's the people that treat marriage flippantly and casually. They're the ones that bail at the first sign of trouble.
Right.
But you only get to, great marriage that is long-term when you learn how to push through, and that is perseverance. Leaders understand perseverance. They have to.
They have to. And it kind of goes back to the quote we read at the beginning with the title. If you're going to be somebody who doesn't persevere or is leading an organization or a church or just a team, within one of those things, and then the hard times come and you're unwilling to persevere through it and try and navigate it with that team and with others, then, yeah, to your point, you never really were a leader in the first place. You just had a title.
Yeah, and actually the interesting thing is this gets reciprocated. So when a leader learns to persevere and the people around the leader realize he's serious about this.
Right. Actually cares. Yeah.
They will do the same thing. They'll reciprocate. So we've got a team full of people who would cut off their right arm if it meant we could accomplish the mission of our church more effectively. And I think that's happened because together we realize we really are serious about pushing through. No matter what happens, we're going to make this happen, and we walk through fire together. Then you get you get some exponential benefit out of it, because then it's not just about the leader carrying the weight by himself or herself.
Right.
He's persevering with a group of people around him.
Yeah, and most of those people will come with you. Some won't. They'll realize they don't care, and maybe you kind of needed that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
At the end of the day. So, authenticity, perseverance. Got two more.
Yep. The third one is presence.
Okay.
So there are leaders that have. Let me back up. There are people who have sort of the gift of invention. They're very good at coming up with ideas and being able to figure out which ideas are going to work. And so they just have this ability. And so they'll put something in place, but then never show up.
Mm-hmm.
And great leaders, Maxwell spends a good bit of time talking about this. Great leaders have to be present. Now, this doesn't mean in every moment, in every throughout the entire thing, in every detail. But they can't just drop the thing and walk away. I often say there's a difference between delegation and abdication. And a leader that doesn't show up, that isn't present, abdicates their responsibility. And frankly, they abdicate their leadership. So I have tried to make sure that I am present both with the team And in other, like here's an example at our church. We have 5 locations. One of them is the broadcast location. We usually are broadcasting from our Powhatan campus. Sometimes we broadcast from Midlow. And for the listener that's not a part of our church or doesn't know anything about multi-site churches, what that means is that the message is broadcast live to the other campuses, the sermon, if you will.
Right.
You don't usually use that word, but so every campus has a band and they're doing music, but the message itself is on a screen live. It's high quality and all that. But so when I'm not the teaching pastor, I make it a point. I've actually got a schedule, and so that people know, so that our team knows where I'm going to be. I'm going to show up at other campuses. I don't mean any disrespect for pastors of multi-site churches that don't do that. And frankly, there are very large multi-site churches that this is just not possible.
Right.
This is just not possible. But for our size church, I think it's really important that the lead pastor or the senior pastor makes his or her way around when they're not on the platform and shows up at those other campuses. That's about being present.
Yeah, for sure.
I try to get time with, I've started having a meeting once or twice a year with all of our kid leaders at our church, just me and them. I usually have them over to my house. We'll have lunch together, and I just want to hear from them. I just want to spend some time with them. I want to learn from them. Same thing about our student leaders. Same thing about our worship leaders. I try to do that with the people who are leading our church financially. I'm trying to be present. And I know that it really matters. I had a friend one time who is an executive pastor of a church that had grown to be of size, and the founding pastor of that church never showed up. And I asked this guy was a friend, the executive pastor. I said, what meetings does he come to? And he said, he comes to no meetings. I was like, wow. No way, man.
Surely you're exaggerating.
He said he literally comes, we don't see him at all except for Sunday mornings.
Wow.
And this went on for years. And I said to him, well, what's he doing? And he said, I have no idea. No one knows what he's doing. He's just never there. Mm. And I do think that some people, some leaders begin with presence because you kind of have to, right? So if you start something new, your boots on the ground, you're doing everything.
Right, because sometimes it's just you.
It's just you.
And like one other person.
That's right. But over time, you build the organization and you realize, well, at least for a while, the thing will run without me. And so slowly over time, you lose a substantial. Everybody needs a break. You can get away with that, sure.
Yeah.
But if that persists over time, you have extracted your presence from the organization. You will lose all of your leadership credibility. And then what happens is everybody's standing around going, I don't know where he is. He's never here.
Right.
He must not care. They'll formulate all kinds of assumptions about you. Maybe he's sick. Maybe they're having trouble at home in their marriage. I mean, they'll just make up all kinds of stories. At the end of the day, your presence is required for your leadership. You have to show up.
Yeah. And in that scenario, when the hard time comes, what we just talked about, those people are gone.
That's right.
Because they don't see you around.
That's right. That's exactly right. Why should I? That's right. Why should I?
I feel like I'm just wasting.
I think presence is also matters in terms of what you do and what it looks like when you actually show up. So,
right.
Really, people don't. I'm not sure everybody thinks about this. I looked at my calendar before I came in today. Now, this podcast at this moment is all audible. It's not video, right?
Right. Yes.
But I still thought when I got up this morning, I looked at my calendar and I thought, okay, who am I meeting with? Where are my meetings going to be? And all that translates into what am I going to wear?
Yeah.
We had a creative retreat earlier this week at my house. I was in a pair of shorts and a pair of slides and, whatever. But today I've got different kinds of meetings. I'm meeting with another pastor today. I'm going to be out.
Right.
So it's not just that you show up, it's how you show up.
Yeah. Definitely.
I also think about this the night before, like, am I going to get enough sleep? Is there something that I'm doing that's going to keep me awake? What kind of energy level do I need the next day? I think all of that matters. It's not just that you show up, it's how you show up in every way. And leaders need to think about this.
Absolutely. Maxwell talks about a little bit sort of exuding the engaging and charismatic
Yep.
presence. Like, not only am I here, I actually care about what's going on here.
That's right.
Because, you could argue that it would be better if you didn't show up, if you are gonna show up and then you're just a stick in the mud, or you're just negative about everything.
That's right.
Picking everything apart all the time.
Right.
There's obviously space to do some of that when you need to, but all right. So we've done authenticity, we've done perseverance, we've done presence. We've got one more we're going to cover today.
The last one is care.
Care.
And this is just critically important. The old adage, and I'm really not into cliches. I really don't like this, but I haven't been able to wordsmith a better phrase. People don't care what you know till they know that you care.
Yeah, that's a quote. Doesn't he say that?
Maxwell does say it. I'm not sure he invented it.
Sure.
It's probably Benjamin Franklin because he wrote all these things.
Right, yeah.
That's just...
Well, Tesla did it, and then...
You're right. I forgot about that. You're right. So just kidding, by the way.
Yeah.
But it really is true. A leader that doesn't care about his or her people has a leadership problem that is fundamental. And people recognize whether you care about them. So in our organization, I often talk about hats, and we've talked a little bit about this before, but I'll talk about, hey, I need to take, let me take off this hat and I'll put on this hat. Because when you're sitting down with someone and you realize that they're going through a challenging moment at home, or their mom just got a diagnosis that's bad, or their kid got in trouble, or 1,000 other things, we have to be willing to say, look, I really do honestly care about you. And so let's set the agenda aside for what we were going to accomplish today, and let me just care. It also means showing up. So the people who are, particularly the people on my team and the people who are making the organization happen, the movement that I care about happen, they're leading with me and serving with me. I have to show up for them in other ways too.
Yeah.
It matters that when their kids have great achievements, some kid graduates from high school, that I'm participating in that in some way, which could simply mean a card to their kid. We had one of our staff kids got injured a few years ago, and I just went out and bought him a gift card and put it in a card and said, make sure your mom takes you to get some ice cream while you're whatever. It's little things like that.
Stuff.
And they remembered that. And their parents remembered that, the people who worked with me. And it's not a game. I actually do care.
Right.
But I'm also aware that the care of this person and how I put it on display matters for my leadership.
Yeah.
It's not a means to an end, but it is an awareness. And I think it's really important. So I don't want to miss things like, with the people on my team, I never want to miss things like birthdays or other significant events. I try to acknowledge anniversaries, especially milestone anniversaries, both at work and in their home or their marriage, big events that happen with their kids and their family. I also try to help when I can. I'll try to personally be involved if I can help them in some way. And I think that matters, because otherwise people just feel used.
Oh, yeah.
Like, all you want from me is what I can do for you.
To get the job done.
Yeah. And I think the best kind of leadership actually cares.
Yeah, for sure. This might be a slight tangent, but it reminds me of something that I know we've talked about here before, but that I've heard in other places, about the idea that when, let's say somebody's hurting or struggling, and you say, let me know how I can help. Kind of thing.
Right.
And it's like, that isn't very helpful.
Right.
Because you've kind of now put the onus on that person to let you know how they can do something for you.
Right.
When in reality, whatever it is you have in your head when you're saying, let me know how I can help you, more often than not, you should just do that.
Right.
Right. And I think that the reason I brought that up is because I think most people care. I would say that most people genuinely care. The step they miss is actually following through on it. Like their heart hurts, they'll pray, which isn't nothing. But they'll say, I'm praying for you. And if they actually follow through, that's a big deal and that matters. But going the extra step to be like, no, physically I'm here to help you.
Right.
I'm going to do this for you, or get you the gift card, or whatever, let your dog out because you have extended time in the hospital or whatever. Just they're small things, but they but they do matter. And to your point, that really sticks with people.
It does. I think showing up is really important.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people don't know what to do. Even a leader sometimes doesn't know what to do. And so they'll just default to the phrase, let me know if I can do anything for you, which I agree with, kind of puts the burden back on them. But what leaders forget is that showing up is a sign of caring.
Right.
And I think that's important. There are times I will say where showing up's not an option, and there really isn't. There's nothing I can think of to do, and so usually I'll qualify the statement that you just made, and I'll look them in the eye, and I'll say something like this: I know you're hearing lots of people say to you, "Let me know if you need anything." I want to say that too, but I want you to know that I really mean it. Yeah. Like, if you call me at 2:00 in the morning, I usually say this: if you call me at 2:00 in the morning and say, I need whatever you say next, I'm going to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want them to know this is not just some phrase that makes me feel better. I am serious.
Sure. Yes.
At least I can impart that, which I think also helps them know, like, Brian really is serious about this. He really does care. Mm-hmm. And that's the message I'm trying to send anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. We could go on.
There's a lot.
But
we've got a lot more in the series, and I'm excited about what's coming for leadership here.
Yeah, sneak peek. This one we talked about sort of the innate qualities inside of a leader that they need to embody. Next time, we're going to talk more about the actual skills a leader needs to develop to lead people well. And they go together, of course. So you can sort of hear this as a part 1, part 2 deal. However many you've listened to, I hope you'll listen to them again. Really appreciate all of you taking the time to listen to it. As always, let us know your thoughts on this. I've seen a couple comments from some people, which are great. I love engaging with those. But just put in the comments what you feel, any questions you have, any of that. We're all open. Like we said before, we're just getting started with this, so there's a long way to go, and we're really thankful for you for listening. Brian, always thankful for your insight, and we will catch you guys next time.